Okay. We got this. Oh, shoot. I don't have my cheats on. Gotta cheat. It's very important. It's very important. Okay. I guess we're just at this boss fight now, because I'm not sure what else to do. Ah, damn non-linear games. Why couldn't they be more linear? Hey, Finn. Okay. Okay, that did 227. I need to actually be paying attention here, because I gotta actually try on this fight. Because he hurts a little bit. Jesus. No. Okay. Okay, so slice is a lot better. Got it. Excuse me. I'm probably going to leave Grand Slam as my avoidance things, because that looks like a really mean attack. I guess this one? No, we'll do this. Hey, Takoida. What's going on? Other than the fact that we're not playing Vermintide tomorrow. Because short notice and apparently no one's really up for it. We need to figure out when we're going to do that, though. Okay. Yes, Snarlex. All I do, ever, all day, every day, is wrestle. That's actually my primary job. This is just a hobby for me, really. You did, Takoida. You said maybe, but possibly not. Anthony said no. So I suppose, I mean, if you really wanted it to just be you and me, we could do that. I don't know if it's like Left 4 Dead where you can have AIs instead of people. This guy has too much health. I've been wailing on this guy for how long? Seriously, how much health does this guy have? God damn it. Well, this is going downhill in a hurry now that our tank is dead. I have no idea what his HP is now. See? I'm just gonna kind of accept the death at this point, because holy crap. No, I'm one of those people who absolutely hates it when I can't see the health of enemies. I have never been quiet about that opinion. I'm not sure I could call that an actual game design flaw. Oh my god, we killed him. Jesus Christ. Okay, now that we've killed the boss that nearly wiped us again. I don't think that's one of the 7 heroes. Hang on, hang on. I don't have all their names memorized, but I don't remember him being one of them. Like, there's Xinzi, Wagnus, Dantar, Bocone, Subir, Noel, and Rock Bouquet. So no, that's not one of the 7 heroes. Jesus Christ. Guys, I think we have to accept that we might not beat this game. Yay. Oh, right, I need to pull up the pluses and minuses thing while I'm thinking about it. Just in case we had any more pluses and minuses. How far are you, Valvedrix? See, that's what blood magic should be, Dakota. Give me a second. I actually spent most of my morning watching my niece open Christmas presents, which was actually really awesome. But that did sort of mean I'm not really as prepped to go as I usually would be. Yep, okay. Okay. God damn it. So anyways, I don't remember which chapter 4 is, so I can only shrug. Jesus, and of course this place is absolutely filled to the brim. Does he... I'm just leaving. That is, in fact, the same giant guy from the intro, yes. You know one game I did like? It didn't actually show the HP of the enemies, but it was called Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which is a game that gets crapped on, for good reason, that I enjoy. And in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, as the enemies get more and more dead, like as they pass certain percentage thresholds, their sprite changes, so you know that they're getting injured. I thought that was a cool mechanic. God damn it, I can't freaking believe that happened. In case you guys missed that, that was the giant guy re-freaking spawning after that long and torturous fight. Because I happened to go outside by accident. And of course, I was spawned outside of him. So I had to fight him again. Yay. Oh god, that would be horrible to Koida. Like, I already don't like not seeing the HP. But not seeing how much damage I'm doing, that would be absolutely terrible. I gotta be honest, if it wasn't for the show, I'd probably put this game down right now after that. That was really irritating. Oh my god. So I tried to look into that mechanic of how the enemies get stronger as you level. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find anything concrete except for bosses. Most of the major bosses, notably the 7 heroes themselves, have thresholds of if you've fought X number of fights throughout the course of the game, they basically upgrade to a stronger form for themselves. It's worth noting that the 7 heroes fights themselves are already supposed to be really, really hard, so that's fun. Hello? Okay, whatever. Yeah, the combat options in RPG Maker were actually one of the things that pulled me out of it too, to be completely honest, back when I was fiddling with it a very long time ago. Like, there's a lot of things you can do to, you know, design the difficulty curve and the progression rate and all sorts of stuff like that, but it's all still within the confines of what is effectively a standard FF format. God damn it. And I mean, that's neat and all, but at that point, I'd almost just take the combat out of the system. Kind of like how To the Moon did. You know, there basically was no actual combat in To the Moon. Oh god, I just realized, if I ever do actually get to start my in-depth classic series, there's going to be games like this, where I'm just going to be like, ugh, running into a wall and having no idea what to do. Okay, so let's get rid of... counter, corkscrew, and I guess that's it for now. There, okay. But why? Actually, we'll do that for this. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, Dakota. But even with the most plugins installed in RPG Maker, it's still basically going to be a... It's actually not Final Fantasy style, it's actually more like Dragon Quest style combat. And I like the Dragon Quest series, but I would like to be able to do something with my combat other than... what? Oh no, I'm an idiot, aren't I? Yep, I just destroyed my weapon on accident. Whoops. not sure how I destroyed my weapon. I don't even have that ability. No. No! God damn it, I don't want to fight you. Yeah, no kidding, Dakota. It's a shame, because I actually really thought about using RPG Maker once upon a time. I'm sure most of us did, right? But, just didn't quite work out. I actually have made two... Well, I made one game, and I started making a second game in RPG Maker. I forget which one. One of them. This is the best game I've ever played, Cashel. Ever. Actually, no. We'll do that. So this is actually reminds me of something I'm planning to do when I get to the SNES Classic series. For games that I don't know that well, if it ever reaches the point where I feel the need to pull up a walkthrough, the game's getting a negative for that factor. You know what I mean? This game is not at that point, to be more clear. But that is something that I've been considering doing in general. It's the exact same thing I was talking about earlier. In fact, actually, if you look at the positives and negatives over there, I've already given this game a negative for this very thing. It'll go on the stream channel, Gnarlix. As it should. Oh, this is a fun dungeon. Yeah, I accidentally did Final Strike, that's what did it. I mean, occasionally, I'll be able to play through a SNES game without having to look something up. Even a game I don't know that well. I shouldn't say occasionally, I'd say it's probably more than half. But yes, there are plenty of SNES games, and NES games for that matter, which have the problem of, now what? This game doesn't quite have it as bad as some, but again, it has it bad enough that I already give it the negative for it, so shrug. I will say this. I know we've talked about this several times before. I know that we have a lot of disagreements about the very concept of the quest marker. You know, the Skyrim and Oblivion quest marker, right? But I will say one thing about that. Against it, basically. I do feel like too many developers use the quest marker as shorthand for rather than actually designing quests or levels well. You know what I mean? In other words, it's like you don't need a quest marker to be able to tell where you're going or what you're doing. You can figure that out as long as the game is well designed enough. There are plenty of examples of that. Like, what too many to really name, honestly. Yeah, exactly. I feel like too many developers use the quest markers instead of proper directions or proper layout or proper flow. Instead, they could just frickin' code a quest marker algorithm that says, this is your next thing to go to, and it's like, okay. And then they don't have to say, I need you to go fight this guy in this land, which you can find to the east if you continue walking past this land and take a right at the next forest, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm not asking for the most amazing directions ever made ever, but it would be nice to see some better quest design. Yeah, exactly. Quest markers should be something that's an assistant, and something that if you turn off, doesn't really destroy your enjoyment of the game. Alright, I think I'm going to have to give up on him. Oh, hey, he got a new ability. Oh, that's not something good. Yeah, I think he's just not going to get martial arts skills because he's not a martial artist. I've been theorizing that for a while, because I really wanted him to get Mea Lua Compassion or whatever, but he's just not picking it up, so... Note to self, lots of martial artists in future parties. Hey, Zlartic, thank you again for funding this. I wish I knew what the hell I was doing, but I suppose that's my fault, not the game's fault. No, seriously, though, the difficulty of the game is interesting. So you remember yesterday we had this whole discussion about elitism? You know, all you need to do is this and blah, blah, blah. Turns out there is actually a specific combo in this game, which I don't remember what it is right now, that all you have to do is do this specific combo and the rest of the game becomes super duper easy. And, land sakes, what do you know? Several people on several forums and threads and Reddit were all saying, I don't understand why anyone calls Romancing Saga too difficult. All you have to do is whatever the combo is, and you just destroy everything. I just found that funny considering we literally just talked about that yesterday. Are these literally respawning? Whatever, I probably shouldn't be grinding, because grinding is actually bad, because it makes the enemies stronger. And it doesn't really feel like it's making me any stronger. I also feel like I'm on the wrong side quest. This feels like the Hive Queen side quest, and I haven't even heard about that side quest yet. Apparently, Tigzar. You still need to learn skills, but shrug. His is Rapier. So yeah, let's just get rid of that and stop trying. No! You know, considering the game actively penalizes you for how many enemies you fight, you'd think it would go out of its way to, I don't know, make it easier to avoid combat if you choose to. I'm sorry, Tenor Martin. I don't know what's wrong with me. Yeah, apparently you have to, later on you gain the ability to combine spells or something like that. And you have to combine something. I don't even remember what it is. Like I said, I was looking it up last night. I was trying to get more information on this game. And, yeah. God damn it! What's her LP at? 4. Jesus Christ. And there's nothing in here. God. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Valvatrix, I was watching my niece open Christmas presents all morning, so I didn't actually have time to do anything. And I actually thought about what I would put out for it. And then I realized it was about like 1 minute before I was going to put up the post saying, hey, I'm about to stream. And I don't like to double post like that, so that's why I held off on it. Oh my god. Stop. Just stop. I don't want to fight you. No! Okay. I don't even remember the question was now. I've already put it out of my mind. What was the question today? Oh, this looks like a fun place. Yeah, I mean, you know how bad SaGa games are? I shouldn't say bad, that's the wrong word, but you know how not easy SaGa games are? Even when you're cheating, like, there's no real way to just cheat and win, because of the very nature of the way they're designed. Favorite mode of transportation. Well, obviously it would be the airship, but that's super duper cheating. Because it's just the airship, or an airship, I should say. So instead... specific mode of transportation I like most. I mean, I am tempted by the Blackjack, because it's an awesome ship that I would love to have in real life. Yeah, honestly, it's going to be an airship, I think. I can't think of any other mode of transportation in any Final Fantasy game that surpasses airships for me. I just love airships too much. And I can't say, like, for example, the Leviathan over in FF12, because you don't actually ride around in that thing. It's not really a mode of transportation. It's a dungeon. So it's kind of cheating, right? Hey, random. I'm ready to gouge my eyes up, otherwise I'm having fun. Wish I knew what the hell I was doing. I am this close to just pulling up a walkthrough and going through it. Which won't even help that much, because it's a walkthrough for the SNES version. Oh, it's a shame Wilson isn't here. I was going to tell him something about that. Yeah, I would also need to figure out where the hell I am in the story. And that's hard to do in a non-linear game. Okay, I do know where this is story-wise, because I'm aware of what's happening at this point in the story. Fun place. So, we have just come to a horrible fortress. Kind of, Tigzer, yeah. We've come to this horrible fortress, and there's skulls and bones everywhere, and there's this creepy-looking necromancer guy who's like, join me and help me save the village. So do we have the choice to assist him in saving the village or not? So, I'm going to help him. Because I actually already know about this little quest. See, the thing is, you have two choices at this little side quest. You can choose to help stop the volcano from erupting in order to save the village. Or you can deliberately let the volcano erupt in order to learn black magic. Or dark magic, I should say. You know, evil magic, in other words. Yes, really, those are your options. The funny thing, at least to me, is if you decide to deliberately let the town be destroyed by the volcano, you actually abdicate. It's an immediate clause for you giving up the throne and having the succession thing happen, where you have to start playing a new emperor. Because the emperor just deliberately let a town get destroyed by lava. I like that because it's one of the few times the emperor thing makes total sense in this game, you know? All the people are like, God, the emperor just allowed this town to be destroyed by lava. Oh my god! Immediately replaced as emperor. I mean, it's a nice option, I'm just not taking it. I don't want to learn dark magic, first of all. And second of all, I don't really feel like letting an entire town get destroyed. And third, I would like to avoid as many generations as possible. I also did some looking into it. Apparently there is... Oh, that's gonna hurt. There is actually a finite amount of successions you can go through. So, the way the succession thing works is anytime you know... So, there's 16, I think? Something like that. Different pre-generated characters for each of the classes in the game. And I'm running from this fight. Oh, Jesus, that's a lot of enemies. Each time you... Really? You're not gonna let me move? Okay, that's cool. I didn't really want to move. I was hoping to just sit here and die. So each time you go through the succession rules, it rolls for each of the classes you have unlocked, and one of the pre-generated characters for that classes. So you know how we got 4 options last time? Well, each one of those 4 was pulled from that overall pool of heroes. So if you bother to go through the game and unlock every class, which it's worth noting we've already missed out on one, the Thief, then you will have 256 total options to pull from all the classes. So in other words, your pool of its successors is literally limited by how many classes you've unlocked. I don't know, Tenor Martin. I mean, I actually do know, because I actually know the overall plot of this game, but, yeah. Hope you're having fun over in Breath of the Wild. So, what I find really weird is my biggest memory of this game is the overall main plot. And the premise. You know, like I said, the premise really engaged me, and I love the idea of playing a nation, basically. It's kind of like playing Crusader Kings 2, now that I think about it. You know, you're not playing an individual or even a party, really, in Crusader Kings 2. You're playing a dynasty that is in charge of a nation. So it's not quite EU4 or Civ 6 or whatever. It's just going down the line of successors and the history of the nation. And a whole lot of these little scenarios are actually completely optional. So, yes, let's actually stop the volcano, because we don't want the people to frickin' die, because we're not horrible. Hey, Mandartin. Basically, in any given case... Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, you're kidding me! Really? I can't port out, and it didn't despawn them? Anyways. And politicking just happened. Yeah, basically. Now, in order to beat the game, you have to have defeated the 7 heroes, and then beat the last boss. That's actually the only requirements. That's nice. Can I leave now? Nope. Still no teleport out option. Now you understand, Gallade. Now you know. And it's worth noting, I didn't give 3 negatives out initially. I don't know if you were there for that whole stream, Gallade, but it wasn't like 3 negatives for durability. It was like a negative for durability. And then, like, the next day or the day after that, it was like, okay, we need to give another negative for this. And then a few days later, we gave another negative for it. Now, so a succession will happen anytime you die, or when there's this hidden counter in the background that ticks up to a certain amount. I don't remember what the amount is off the top of my head. Oh, that's cute. I really don't like these enemies. A lot. So as you run around doing different types of events and scenarios and encounters and whatnot, Oh, for God's sakes. The... hate everything. This counter builds up, and then basically when it goes over a certain number, you know, fade to black, skip forward to the next generation, right? Unfortunately, the only real way that I'm aware of to access the heroes, which is required in order to progress the actual main plot, is to do several of these side quests. So it's pretty much unavoidable, to my knowledge, that you have to do a lot of these scenarios and you have to go through successive generations. It is, however, within the realm of possibility to start out as the final Emperor right at the beginning of the game. All you have to do is die over and over and over, basically right after you get Gerard, and literally just cycle through your whole list of hero pools, because when you run out of hero pools, you start playing as the final Emperor, which is the one we named at the beginning. And yes, HP resets every battle. It is the only thing that resets every battle. LP does not, and MP does not, SP does not. God damn it! Just get out of my way! Anyway, so scenarios being completed advances it. Defeating a certain number of enemies advances it. And I think there's one other thing, but I don't... oh, right. Defeating one of the 7 heroes also advances that ticker as well. Oh, my freaking God. Good. Lol, Gary. Oh, speaking of which, we have a vote going on right now that you should totally go vote on. That I'll link as soon as I get through this area. Guys, I think it's getting to the point where I'm actually getting irritated by getting into encounters. And in my experience, that's usually a bad thing. There are so many enemies, and they're so hard to dodge. And they respawn. And you're basically penalized for fighting extra encounters. Now, I shouldn't even say basically. You are literally penalized for fighting extra encounters. God, get out of my way! Hey, Cumanization. Haven't seen you in a while. What's up? Fine! Fine! Die! Die in the face! I've actually already given a negative for the encounters. This keeps up, I'm giving it a second one. Just need to double check my skills real quick, just occurred to me. Yep, we're still good. If I ever get out of this volcano, I will tell you guys what the vote is, I swear. By the way, interesting fact, even though the encounters on the world map, so to speak, like here, are actually completely static, the actual formations are completely random. So you notice how this exact same enemy, and I've showed this a couple of times, will change depending on what exactly, you know, basically depending on a dice roll when I actually run into them. Oh, thank God. Yeah, saved your stupid town. God damn it. Yay. Oh yeah, anytime your territory expands, that's another thing. And now we're back here. Yes, no context. No context. No context whatsoever. Don't bother asking. poor Vivi. I mean, I am voicing Vivi, and he's one of the more challenging voices I've ever had to do. Alright, do we have enough money to buy things yet? Nope. I also was thinking of something else the other day. I don't think this qualifies as a proper remake. And it gets into the definitions of proper remake. And honestly, you know, proper remake is kind of a variable anyways, right? So... But, I mean, they didn't really do anything with the graphics. They didn't really do anything with the gameplay. They didn't really do anything with the base philosophy of the functionality of the game. They did add a little bit of content. That's good. That's absolutely a good thing. And they did translate it. I can't even say they polished up the translation, but... Because, you know, it never was actually translated in English, but still, they did do something with it. Oh yeah, by the way, I also found something else out. Just really quick aside. There's not really a lot of reason to buy equipment. It is literally better to just go and advance a generation, because any new people you recruit automatically start with whatever the best gear is that you have researched. Speaking of which, I actually think I'm going to start dumping money on research. As much as I'd love to get the university, and I would. Yes, the original of this was a SNES game, yes. Actually, maybe I shouldn't, because I really do want that university. For which I need like another 400,000 crowns. And yes, I've played both Luigi... Or no, I've only played the first Luigi Mansion. Sorry. I'm trying to think of which of those games have good box art. I'm failing miserably, Gary. Also, the fact that I have to go through battle areas to travel on the overworld map is a little on the irritating side. Instead of just, you know, going there. But yeah, the idea of trying to make this as strict to the original as possible. I mean, seriously? Okay, fine. Since you're apparently not going to let me go here, just die. Anyways, I don't understand that design philosophy. I don't understand why you would want to basically make a straight port at that point. Maybe I'm a weirdo? I don't know. I guess I am a weirdo. I will accept that. Because that's my opinion. At that point, like, not that there's anything wrong with porting an older game so that new generations can play it, but... Okay, let me actually explain my point. First of all, there is nothing wrong with a good port. Let's go ahead and make that clear. There are several reasons for good ports to exist. Not the least of which being the fact that you can be just as irritated with the game as everyone was back then. God damn these freaking encounters! Oh my god, I want to kill everything in the world. Because people who liked the game back in the day would like to be able to replay that game without having the hassle of, for example, hooking up your SNES, or, you know, getting a DOS shell specifically for an old PC game, you know, to use the PC equivalent. So it's not like I don't understand the concept. And for that matter, it's so that newer people can have the possibility of going back and replaying, or excuse me, playing games they never actually got the chance to. So again, I get the concept. But, if I can make my 2 points. First of all, a lot of design decisions in basically the 70s, 80s, and 90s when it came to video game design. Oh my god, you have got to be kidding me. Were made because they didn't have the technology, or it hadn't occurred to them to use the technology in a new way. Right? In other words, it wasn't like they sat down and said, I really want to make this game really irritating in terms of A, B, or C. They were specifically doing that because they either hadn't thought about it or they literally couldn't, right? Make sense? So, in my opinion, and I know this is, not, definitive or anything like that, but in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with going back and fixing problems with game design when it comes to those kind of things. There's also another thing to be kept in mind, which is the fact that anytime a port is made, the odds of a proper remake being made go down. Because we've already spent the time and money on the port, so the audience has basically just shrunk because the port just came out. And furthermore, it does take a decent amount of time and money and effort in order to make a proper remake. I understand that, unlike some people. So, anytime a game gets a port instead of a proper remake, I'm looking at you, original StarCraft, which got a port very recently, the odds of us getting that proper remake of that game plummet for years, if not forever. That's another valid point to make, Max Time. Oh, I love this song. You... I enjoy several older games. Hell, I even know people who've never played older games who enjoy older games. But those are the older games that have aged well. Those are the older games that, knew what the hell they were doing and did it very carefully. You know what I mean? I mean, we all understand that concept. There's a difference between... Oh. He is on the cover of that. God damn. I didn't even realize that. There is a pretty big difference between... Oh, God... Mega Man 6 and Faxanadu, for example, Like, there are plenty of older games that have aged very well that don't really need proper remakes. Now, it's also worth noting that there are some older games that have aged well that I still want proper remakes of. Final Fantasy VI, excuse me. I don't know what you're asking, Dr. Nimbus. I don't understand your question, sir. And that is true, Korgoth. The harsh reality is that, for the most part, proper remakes just aren't happening, and that's something we kind of have to live with, to be completely honest. It's just something we need to get used to the idea of. Like, I would love to have a proper remake of Civilization 2. I would. That's never happening. I would love to have a proper remake of, while we're on the topic, Alpha Centauri. Or MechWarrior 2. Or even MechWarrior 2 Mercs. That's not happening. Honestly, I could name a huge number of games I would love to have a proper remake for. Like, my list is gargantuan. Other than the so-called biggies. Okay, I'm gonna assume it's this one. Well, I don't know of any such games, so I can't pick any. See, first of all, I don't complain that much about lack of new IPs. Just making that clear. But I've heard several people seem to think that all I want is remakes, and all I want is nothing but games from... Jesus Christ, you know what? Screw this. That the only things I want when it comes to gaming is for us to remake older games. And that is not actually true. I mean, I'm going to name a game that just came out that's a new IP that I absolutely adored, with one rather big exception. Horizon Zero Dawn, right? I don't... I know you're not accusing me of this, Mandarton, because you have a brain, but I have had several people who have just come to me like, you're an idiot, all you care about is remaking games. It's because I talk more about remaking games than about new IPs, because we get new IPs. I don't think we're particularly hurting for new IPs, to be completely honest with you. I don't. There are plenty of new IPs that have come out recently that are awesome. We're not hurting in that department. By a little bit of contrast, proper remakes don't come out hardly at all. So you can kind of see why I focus a little bit more on the proper remake side of things. Why are you punching? That's really weird. Speaking of the definition of proper remake, I realized the other day that I need to decide if there's two games that qualify as proper remakes. I'm thinking they don't. But it really depends on how you define it. Chrono Trigger on the DS and FF6 on the GBA. What do you guys think? Before I go into any of my reasoning or details or whatever, what do you think of those two examples? Our mage now has 1 LP, guys. I'm not sure if I had to choose between new IPs or remakes. I'm honestly not sure what I'd choose. Proper remakes. I gotta stress that part, because regular remakes are just ports that add a couple of bells and whistles. Now, for those of you who've been watching my show for a long time, I actually made the argument that FF6 on the GBA and Chrono Trigger on the DS were proper remakes, and my argument was basically that both of them actually added to the overall substance and meat of their given games. Looking back at that, I'm not sure that's actually true anymore. Mario 64 on the DS is absolutely a proper remake. That's not even questionable. Same with Final Fantasy IV on the DS, which is an unquestionable proper remake. Samus Returns is absolutely a proper remake, yes. Ocarina 3DS would be a port. I would call it a good port, because they had to basically rebuild the engine from scratch, and they put, you know, real honest to God effort into it. But it is still a port, not a remake. God damn, it's another one of these assholes. The best part is I'm already doing my most powerful attack, so I can't even add anything to this. It's just, well, keep doing your most powerful attacks like you've already been doing. Actually, you know, let's do this. Top 5 board games? Oh, Jesus, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they misnamed the Ocarina 3DS. I don't remember. Majora's Mask had the same situation. Good ports. But not remakes. So, FF6 on the GBA. Let's talk about what it actually... See you around random. Oh, gotcha, Maxim. I'm sorry. As I say, let's talk about what FF6 on the GBA did to change it. First of all, they basically redid all the dialogue, which was a much-needed change. Pretty much improved the dialogue across the board, in my opinion. then they had to, they added a very small amount of additional content. Oh, you son of a... something... I hate this game. I hate everything about this game. He just one-shot me. I had a defense prot up. I was actually trying. I actually had my tank up there with my best armor and a defense spell on him, and he got one shot. And then he just casually one-shots one of my other party members because my tank is gone. Anyways, how was I saying? God damn it. So FF6 redid the dialogue, which was a much-needed thing, and a big thing that affects the meat. Hey, he just decided to one-shot one of my other guys. Added a very small amount of additional content. The new dungeon, which isn't really that substantive. It's there, but it's basically just a bonus optional dungeon. So, don't really get points for that. And the new arena thing, which they really don't get points for. I have heard of Armello, yes. He just hit me for 1,000. And they also went through and fixed several glitches and bugs in the code of the game. So, for example, a lot of the tricks you can do in the SNES version of FF6, you cannot do in the GBA version of FF6. They also had to adjust several cutscenes to work for the smaller screen of the GBA, and they had to redo several of the triggers so that they would actually fire properly, and just a whole bunch of stuff like that, right? So, I personally, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm going to disagree with the me from the past. I don't think FF6 and the GBA really qualifies as a proper remake. I do think it qualifies as a very good port, though, because they did a lot to actually put real effort and time into making sure that it was a good product on the GBA. Basically the best thing they could have done on the GBA. Similar with FF5, for example. And Chrono Trigger on the DS, they had to redo the combat engine, so that's significant. They redid the dialogue, of course, and touched it up a lot. They actually added more content, basically more content than the FF6 one did, but some of that content is actively bad, that frickin' mountain. The other content isn't as story relevant as it should have been, and they only added the one additional optional boss with the one additional ending, which was designed to tie into Radical Dreamers, which never came out. So, again, I think Chrono Trigger on the DS would qualify as a very good port, but nothing more. Did I mention I'm cheating? I did mention that, right? By the way, did I tell you guys I figured out why we had a 200-year jump last time? 2 centuries later. The amount of years, it's purely cosmetic. The amount of years that pass between a generation depends solely on how many monsters you kill. Yes, really. I'm gonna look something up. Give me a second. Yeah, I know, right, Mandarin? You're kidding me. Run. I just realized I have, like, no way to track this. Are you making that argument for CT or FF6 max time? It's also worth noting, I should admit something. The difference between a very good port and a standard remake is basically non-existent. The two are actually the same thing. So it's easy to call, for example, CT on the DS a very good port and also a remake because those are basically the same goddamn things. I think so, Tagoida? So I'm actually grinding now, but it's okay. I'm doing it for a reason. I swear. So that's another one. Someone earlier mentioned the Kingdom Hearts games that were re-released. I still don't think those would qualify as proper remakes for obvious reasons. But I could see an argument that they could be qualified as good remakes, or at least just remakes. So we've got truly amazing remakes, which is actually pretty rare even for proper remakes. Then we got proper remakes. Then we've got remakes, which is also the same as a good port. Then we've got ports. Then we've got bad ports, like FF5 on PS1. And then we have reskins. No, I'm kidding. All of that pretty much... I think that pretty much qualifies as the gamut there. I prefer to refer to something as a good port rather than just a remake, because I feel like the word remake is a little bit overused in common lingo nowadays when it comes to movies and games both. So I try to only use the term remake when I'm referring to what I call a proper remake, because I think it's a proper remake. God damn it. Level. Oh, sure. Now it's not a thing. I wonder if I could do that. Yes, this game is definitely a remake of FF2, and definitely not a completely separate series. Come on, level! Christ, why aren't you leveling? You know what? Okay, we're gonna do the other method. Okay. We're gonna have to do this manually, aren't we? Someone who can even find it. Hello? You gotta be kidding me with this crap. Let's see if this does anything. Nope. God damn it. I was hoping I could cheat my attack power up a little bit. Looks like I cannot. At least not in any way I know how to do. Breath of the Wild, Bregman. Piss off. I gotta be 100% honest, guys. I'm very sincerely considering giving up on this game. So I can't cheat properly at all. Which doesn't leave me a lot of options. The name of the area I'm at. Hey, wait, no. God damn it. This is the Gilead Ruins. Let's see. Of course, Gilead isn't what it was called. Okay, this is apparently an optional area, which gets me one of the best swords in the game and one of the best axes in the game if I were able to actually kill the giant. But considering I am having no actual success with that whatsoever, I think we're just gonna give up on that particular dream and get the hell out of here. I mean, it'd be nice to have some really good equipment, but I don't think I'm even capable of killing that guy, so... For Christ's sakes. Also, I lost chat for a second. Obviously, since chat has stopped updating. Okay. That's even a respawning boss. That's how fun he is. Oh, wow, there's spells in this game that cost LP to cast. Wow. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to give me a minute to figure out where the hell I am in the story. Such as it is. Okay. Okay, we did the gem mines. By the way, I did a little looking into this to give you guys a little bit of a perspective. This game came out within a few months of Mega Man 6 and Mega Man X coming out, as well as after Secret of Mana. Give you a little bit of historical perspective there. Okay, so I already beat the Dune Worm. Yeah, I know, right, Bergwin? Yeah, exactly, next time. Okay, so apparently I do have to kill that giant guy to get in. You know, the guy that nearly killed me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, it looks like. Alright, here's how we're gonna decide this. If I succeed at killing this stupid Spriggan... You know what? So as I was saying, if I succeed at killing this stupid Spriggan, this is why I saved back here, then I will go ahead and keep playing this game. If I fail, then screw this game. I'm sorry. This is getting to me. Holy crap. I don't even know what negative to give. Made me not want to keep playing. Like, I remember the story of this game, which we haven't even gotten to yet, by the way. We literally have not actually reached the plot yet. Can you believe that? Whatever. Okay. So I'm gonna be taking this fight seriously. Gonna make a real effort of it. Yeah. I remind you again that I'm cheating right now. I shouldn't have most of these abilities or some of the equipment I have. And yeah. And yeah, I was playing this game pretty much all day yesterday. Wait, no. I need you to mince. Sorry. Well, that's an interesting question, so beyond me. I mean, I could probably summarize the story for you pretty quickly. Stories, I should say, because there's some interesting individual tales. Basically, each of the 7 heroes has their own little mini-story, mini-arc, and that's the majority of the plot, is going through their little chapters, which are connected, but loosely connected. It's effectively 7 little chapters of a story, and then you find out what was going on overall, and then you defeat the 7 heroes again. And then you win the game. That's pretty much the plot right there, to skip all the spoilery stuff. I won't lie, I would rather actually beat this game, but at this point, Jesus Christ. It's one of those cost-benefit ratio things, you know? I don't have infinite time to stream, and I have an absolutely gargantuan backlog of streaming games. That's been growing as people have been funding more streams, so... You know? The fact... I gotta be honest, though. If I could just be completely overt. And I know people disagree with me on this, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with disagreement on this. Hell, Backstime in chat just disagreed with me on this, but... I think the fact that this is not a proper remake is one of the biggest things pushing me away from this. This is basically just playing the SNES version. Like, they've added a couple of convenience features, which is nice. And they added, you know, a couple of new content things, like New Game Plus is great. That's awesome. It definitely gets a plus for having New Game Plus. And, you know, saving anywhere, that's nice. You know, there's some good stuff in this game that they added to it. But it is still basically just a good port rather than a proper remake. Yes, AGDQ is coming quite soon. This was originally a SNES game, Zenkadak, if that helps. Also, the fact that they didn't really do that much with it with the phone version, because the phone version was apparently just supposed to be a straight-up port, and then the phone version was ported to PC with the new features that I just mentioned. So, that's what we're staring at. A good port of a lazy port. Now, someone earlier made the comment, and this is actually a worthwhile topic to discuss, I think. Someone earlier made the comment that this is a niche series, so really spending the time and effort on something like that isn't really smart, right? I mean, that does make sense. The idea that you don't want to pour that kind of time and resources into something that only a small market's going to like. I'm not gonna disparage that mindset. I will, however, say that there is another way to think of that. That if you bothered to put the time and effort into make this into a proper remake, then what could happen, it's just not a guarantee, it's worth noting, but what could happen is that you could have a situation... I can res? You can have a situation... I didn't know I could res. Where you could, basically you can expand your market. More people who otherwise wouldn't be into the series could be brought into the series. You know what I mean? I mean, Christ's sakes, I've actually seen several games where people have gone back and played, you know, a proper remake of a game and been like, oh, dude, this is awesome. Because they never got into the series originally, right? Right? Okay, hang on. So... I'm not saying they should dumb the game down for the sake of broad appeal. Let me make that very clear. I'm just saying polish the game and make it better. Right? God, there are a lot of enemies here. And again, I know that there are some serious gray issues when it comes to what exactly is qualified as better, or, you know, how far is too far. I get that. I get that this is actually a more complicated issue than it sounds like. I fully understand and appreciate that. Hey, it's Toby. But I do think that too many people, too many companies, I should say, don't even consider the equation. They just say, eh, and walk away from it. And to be blunt, Square Enix has been very weird about their approach to both ports and remakes. Square Enix, even within most recent years, not counting historical stuff, has put out really, really bad ports, FF8 on the PC, really, really good ports, FF10 on the PC, proper remakes, like the Dragon Quest series, which has been coming out on the DS and the 3DS, and, like, lackluster games that aren't actually a remake at all, that they qualify as a remake, like FF10 on the PS3. Like, they... Even within just one company, we've got this weird bipolar thing going on. Let's get rid of that. And yeah, let's just get rid of these. Now, allow me to say something controversial. And I know you're all going to hate me for it, but whatever. It's still my opinion. I personally think that there are... Hey, Javan. Funny, I've been spending the last, like, 10 minutes talking about why I don't like this game and why I wish they'd actually done a better job of the port, but whatever. So... there's a mindset in design, it's not just game design, but it's most prevalent in game design, that I don't personally agree with, okay? And that particular mindset is, well, we don't want to upset the fans, so let's not do anything. Now, if I can explain... Oh, God, did I seriously just do... Frickin'... Really? Really? When did I save last? I think I did too, but I'm having trouble getting out of combat. I really don't want to do that fight again, so we're just going to do a backup save here. In case you're wondering what happened, so anytime you change around the skills... Oh, thank God. Anytime you change around the skills, like I was just doing, it resets you to default. And for some reason, her default is on frickin' Final Strike. Which is weird, because if you notice, she doesn't have Final Strike here. Final Strike destroys your sword in order to do a lot of damage to the enemy. It's something I really don't want to do. That's actually the second time today that I've accidentally Final Striked because of that feature. Yeah, see? Notice it's defaulting to Final Strike? Now, that is my fault for not paying too much attention, especially since it's already happened. But, WTF. Anyways, what the hell was I saying? Oh, right. So, the mindset of we don't want to change anything because people will be upset, I feel like too many people use that as an excuse for either being lazy or not bothering. Because... maybe this is just some cynicism on my part, but it is my opinion that fans are going to complain no matter what. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a fan of World of Warcraft. I've seen fans complain for the last 13 years or so about World of Warcraft and how awful it is and how WoW is dying. Doesn't matter what they do. Fans will always complain. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go to the opposite extreme of completely ignoring fans, because that would obviously be terrible too, but I do think that too many developers or publishers or money people use the, oh, we don't want to change things because fans, as an excuse rather than a legitimate goddamn reason. My opinion. I do not have any freaking armor. Well, he's the one who really needs the armor anyways. Can I give him any better? Nope. In fact, I'm just going to keep using World of Warcraft as an example because I know it like the back of my hand. Fans complained about Cataclysm, and they pulled the plug on a lot of their ideas, which ended up backfiring and basically directly led to Warlords of Draenor. I mean, that's a pretty overt and obvious example of when they probably shouldn't have been listening to the fan base. The specific complaints were that people were complaining about the water zone of Vashir. People were complaining about the fact that there was no content in Cataclysm because they were stupid. And people were complaining about the fact that they redid the old world, that they revamped the old world. Those three complaints were listened to. Either way, I do agree very strongly that this kind of situation has to be taken on a case-by-case basis. Not every game is going to work in any given perspective, right? Yeah, exactly. You got to take a little bit of a grain of salt with fan complaints, but don't completely ignore them. Don't completely ignore fan complaints, obviously. But don't take them as, like, sacrosanct either, as some people tend to do. I made the joke once that even if, like, even if you came out with something that, like, gave $10 for free for playing a specific part of World of Warcraft, people would still complain about that. I guarantee you there would be people who would complain about that. When you have a fan base that large, it's basically unavoidable. In fact, here's an example that's more relevant into the immediate era. Star Wars Episode 8. Now, we're still at a no-men status for that. So I'm not going to be bringing up any... So please keep spoilers about Episode 8 out of chat, or bans will happen. But there's no denying the fact that there has been a vocal minority that has been screeching bloody murder about that movie. Like, it's almost impossible to avoid that information right now. It's a little ridiculous. Anyways, getting back to my point. I understand. Okay, so let me also explain one other thing. I also don't think that I'm the only person in the universe. I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. Because I've been accused of this before. I've been accused by people of saying that I think that whatever my opinion is the only valid opinion, and therefore is the only one that should be taken into account and consideration. Because I apparently think I'm the only person in the universe, according to the internet. Which is so ridiculous and stupid, I don't even know what else to say about that. Whatever. Won't bother with that. So I understand that... let's use the immediate example. Let's use this game right here. Let's use Romancing Saga 2. I would have loved if this game got a proper remake. Anybody who remembers when the announcement first came out, I was pumped. I was actually excited. Like, oh my god, they're doing a proper, what at the time looked like a proper remake of Romancing Saga 2. And I was excited for it. I was like, yes, this is great. And I pumped, if you remember, I pumped it on my show. I talked about it in my Discord. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I can't wait to play this, you guys. It's not a proper remake, and I'm upset about that. That does not mean I necessarily say it should have been a proper remake. You see the key distinction between these two things here? I would have loved it if this was a proper remake, if they took this and really polished the old game and made it shine, you know? Really brought a lot of the design concepts forward for the modern era. The fact that they didn't is a negative for me, because I'm not enjoying this as much as I otherwise would. But whether or not that is what should happen, that's a lot trickier of a thing to say. It's harder to just say, what I want to happen is the thing that should happen, right? That gets into tricky territory at that point. That being said, I really would have loved it if this was a proper remake. Did the Empress just die? What happened? I looked down for like a second and she's dead. Yeah, she had a lot of fun opening her presents, period. Got probably a few too many things, comma, LOL, period. Ah, it never does that, right? Get up. What's funny is, as I'm sitting back and thinking about it, most of my wish list for changes to this game would probably pretty fundamentally alter the way the game functions. Like, first of all, let's get rid of the enemy scaling. That's just crap. I'm sorry. I think I've made my opinion on the scaling concept pretty clear. And, whoops, wrong one. And I do think the fact that at certain bosses, certain already very difficult bosses in an already difficult game, get actually harder if you kill so many enemies is just bullcrap. That is my opinion. I also think the leveling system is better than it was in previous games like this, like oh god, the leveling system in FFL2, holy crap. And it is better than it is in FF2. But I do also still think that it's a little bit too restrictive for the same reasons this leveling system usually is restrictive. I've commented on this so many times before, it's getting redundant. Honestly, I could probably live with the leveling system. In fact, I know I could live with the leveling system. If not for... I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Yeah, you know what? That's a good way to put that, Tenmartin. That's actually an excellent way to put that. There's too much I just don't know about the under-the-hood mechanics. Like I said, I actually spent some time last night trying to research this to get some more hard data on how this game actually works, and I didn't find the kind of information I was wanting because it's basically not available. And of course, the game itself doesn't tell you, which causes issues. Like, the mechanics of succession being more properly described would be nice. The method by which skills are learned would be nice. The ability to actually understand how the difficulty scaling properly works, like exact numbers, would be really awesome. Figuring out exactly what you need to do to keep leveling under the right circumstances would be nice. How exactly the tech points are distributed into what stats would be nice. You know, there's several other different ways that I think that this game could be a lot more obvious and overt about what it's doing, which I think would really help. Hello, you're a ghost. Okay. So, unique qualities to the SaGa series. First of all, you level by doing, similar to the Elder Scrolls series. The game's plots are almost distinctly off, like, new. I'm trying to think of... The stories of the SaGa series are usually what draws me to them, in general, because they try to do new or different or interesting takes on things. As I've said before, this particular game, the story is that of a series of heirs in a kingdom, rather than the story of an individual, or... I guess we win? Huh? I have a walkthrough right here that I'm looking at. There actually is one other thing that's a very clear highlight of the SaGa series, and that's the non-linear nature of it. Almost all of these games, to some extent or another, are fairly non-linear. I think the only truly linear SaGa series game is FFL1, the very first one, which is aggressively linear because it's just the frickin' tower. The Magic Academy was finished, yes. However, I don't have enough money to start the university yet. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes more sense. So we're on the failure path, because we actually were supposed to come here earlier, somehow. And if we had done so, there would have been someone to rescue in that prison. Instead, there was his ghost, who calls out for his father and mother. So we failed, but we did liberate the town by talking to the ghost somehow. We still have to kill the guy who was actually trying to do the coup, which is in... I'm gonna guess it was here. Characterization is not great in these series, to be completely blunt. Because that's not really the highlight of the series. Like, name a significant character from the first 5 SaGa games. I could think of Ashura from FFL1. I'm not coming up with anything else. Like, I'm not saying there aren't any, but I certainly can't come up with any. Exactly, Kevin. It's the focus is far more on the aggregate. There's only 3 significant named protagonists in this game in particular. Leon, who dies in the tutorial. I forget his name. I think it was Gerard, who you play immediately after him. And Final Emperor, which is the character you named. That's it. Everyone else is nice and randomized. Like, I don't even know the name of my character here. Jessica, apparently, is who I'm playing right now. It's just a randomly generated... Well, that's inaccurate. It's just the next line of successors of the Emperors, which is who we play as. Okay, so that failed. So she's... Okay, so we gotta go to the Haunted Castle next. Okay. I'm just gonna start using a walkthrough because I'm getting way too lost in this game. Talk to me. Talk to me. Kalima. Okay, I'm done. Where am I going? Yeah, they're all super dead. These are the... Okay, so... I could actually tell you some of the story of this section. But... because of the non-linear nature of the game, I have accidentally skipped several bits of it. So there was a civil war that was being started by a man named Ifrit, or Sifrit, or something like that. It's this guy. And I'm not even sure what he's named in this version. I guess we'll go talk to him and find out. See, here's the guy we just rescued, the ghost, who is super dead. This is George, who is now seeing his dead brother, and Sifrit. Okay, so Sifrit is the name of the villain in this one. Sifrit started a civil war within Cumberland, basically as a power grab, for no other reason than to try and claim power. Sifrit was being backed by Bokomnin, which I'm pronouncing wrong, but whatever. He's one of the 7 heroes. So hang on. So he was... So when I tell you this story, you'll probably understand why this game appealed to me, back in the name. So give me a second. So this civil war was started by Sifrit, who had the backing of Bakuman, or whatever the hell his name is. He's one of the 7 heroes. He's the strategist, the tactician. In fact, most of the side stories that we do throughout this game are things that were specifically started by Bakuman, or however the hell you say his goddamn name. Bach. We're just going to start calling him Bach. He gave Sifrit, in order to fund his civil war, an army of monsters. Sifrit then went over and was like, guys, I have the power of the monsters. I have the power of the hero at my back. And remember, the heroes are called that for a frickin' reason. They're integrally built in to the overall mythos and culture of these people. So the fact that this guy over here has the backing of one of the heroes, holy crap, of course we're going to join him. So quite a few people, this is why it was a civil war rather than just an insurrection. A lot of the people joined with him because they wanted to be on the side of the heroes. So he took his monster army and the people who joined with him, basically smashed almost every area around here, which is like 2 castles and 3 towns or something like that. Basically took over the whole kingdom and was like, now I'm in charge. And funnily enough, Bach over there is incredibly evil. We'll get to why the heroes are evil later. It's a messed up situation. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. So the heroes are actually evil. And they're actually filled with fear. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. Although I never asked for those main subs, I still appreciate them. Thank you very much. So, because they're evil, Bach basically made Sifrit go from power-hungry individual to complete monster. And that's why, I don't know if you were paying attention yesterday, but while we were wandering around the occupied towns, there's all sorts of soldiers wandering around who literally are attacking people in the streets, which happen to be us in this case, for their money. Because that's just how decadent and corrupt the situation is at the behest of Sifrit, who has been pushed by Bach. Make sense? Now, we went in and we took out, okay. As with almost every, they call them scenarios, but as with almost every quest in this game, there's multiple paths you can do, multiple options. That's part of the non-linear nature, and that's one of the other things the SaGa series does very well. So, kind of by accident, we ended up doing the straight-on attack the fort option, which is basically the worst possible option. Whoops. What we did is we went into a side secret area, and basically we're like, hey guys, we're here to help the rebellion. And the leader of the rebellion, whose name was Sophia, except that's not actually her name because this rebellion's been going on for a while, but we've already talked about this, is like, oh my god, the Empress herself has our back, because we're a female. The Empress herself has our back. We must charge and attack. Go! And then so we charged. We charged into the castle. They were actually, we didn't see this, of course, but they're supposed to be at our backs, you know, fighting all the soldiers and fighting everything else. We had to make our way through the Spriggan, frickin' stupid giant fight, and then we went down and interacted with the ghost. I'm not sure why interacting with the ghost kicked everyone out, but now that we have reclaimed the kingdom, all we have to do is go to kill Seyfried so that Hizen can come back with another army of monsters and pull the same trick again. That's the story we're doing right now. Now, I could be, I'm being presumptive, but I bet that actually sounds a lot cooler than what we just saw on screen, right? And that brings back to something I think Tenor Martin mentioned there. This needs to be more on camera, you know? This needs to be presented better, so all of this is like, ah, you know? Anyways. So now we're at Fort Seyfried because we want to stop Seyfried, ensuring that he doesn't bring his, you know, another army and start this whole cycle over again. And once we have done so, we are going to annex this kingdom into our empire. That's basically our motive here. We are resolving their civil war and freeing their people so that they become our subjects. That's our motive. And no, I don't think there's anything evil about that. That's not gonna let me, is it? Nope. I guess we'll just put it on us then. Okay. Mandarton, then you are a much smarter man than I. Which isn't hard, because I'm not really super smart. Yeah, I really don't feel like fighting these guys. And yeah, this was a Squaresoft game. All the way back in the day. Anyways, everything I just talked about probably helps to explain one of the reasons why this series is one that I kept playing, despite not really being a big fan of the series, if that makes any sense. What do you mean, Dakota? I mean, it took SaGa Frontier for me to finally fall out of this franchise. And honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to Octopath Traveler, which is the new one coming out. God damn it. Did he just... When did I save last? I really need to just start save-scumming the crap out of this game. I really do. I just need to be in that habit of saving after every single encounter, because LP. Okay. I would say part of the problem of the SaGa games, this is just my opinion, is they're not transparent enough about choices. There are many, many choices in these games, especially this game in particular. And once you make a choice, you're pretty locked into it. But the thing is, the game isn't really overt about the fact that you've made a choice. I can actually name a specific example of that. You know, the earlier quest we did, where we basically talked to the wrong NPC in town, that locked us into the break-in through the raft quest, which meant we missed out on the thief class, and of course we couldn't just fight our way in. Oh, there are plenty of times my intellect has failed me. Am I rich, powerful, successful? Do I have the ability to take care of my family to the extent that I want to? No, of course I don't. Because I am stupid. Anyway, so... Gotcha, Takoida. I understand what you're talking about now. And yeah, that would be a nice little feature to have in several games. Especially since the SaGa series is very bad about having points of no return. In many, many different aspects. There's, in fact, a point of no return much further into this game. In fact, basically every SaGa has, like, a point of no return towards the very end of the game. And that's, usually not very well publicized, I think is the way I want to phrase that. There he is. Let's get a save in. Really? You're gonna send your troops after me? Come on, dude. Just fight me yourself. Come on, come on. Lol, Tenor Martin. Although, that does sound like another game, which I actually very much enjoy. It's a game called Rebellion, or if you're in Europe, it's called Supremacy. It's a Star Wars game. It's basically a form of a grand strategy 4X, long before that genre really became a thing. And it is very, very complicated. Almost overcomplicated. And, if you don't know what you're doing, it's just going to be a mess and a not good time. If you do know what you're doing, if you understand a massive amount of complexity and depth of the game, then it's actually a lot of fun. And there are plenty of games like that. And I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with games like that, with the exception of the obvious barrier to entry. Right? Overcomplicated is subjective, but I'm still going to use it. Because I'm a weirdo. EU4 is absolutely overly complicated to get into. EU4 absolutely has a barrier to entry. Although I would say CK2 actually has an even worse barrier to entry, but that's my opinion. And Victoria whatever, I think it's Victoria 2, has an even worse barrier to entry. By contrast, Stellaris, which has a fairly large amount of complexity, makes a lot of that fairly open and obvious. Like, they're very... It's all on display, basically. I can't believe I lost after hearing such platitudes. So it's time to kill Seyfried. He's not even a real boss. He's just a normal, non-moving guy. Well, like I said, Glade, people complain about everything. God, AoE attacks suck. Speaking of which, I need to remember to turn off the Council DLC every time I play EU4 from now on. I think that's supposed to be his hand on fire, Wilson. HOI 4 is actually pretty non-complex, I would say personally. Speaking as someone who's played basically all the modern Paradox games. Now, that being said, I also think HOI 4 is an actively bad game. You're welcome. What do people think of the leadership changing from Cypher to the Empire? Hint, hint. Happiness is a tall order, but we'll totally do it for you. So, we have just annexed the kingdom. Probably going to be forced into a generation gap after finishing that quest. Yep. 80 years jump. So, we've got a light infantry, a crusader, because we unlocked the crusader class with that side quest, and a mercenary. Look at our stats here. I have nothing to add, Kevin. I don't know what else to say, but thank you. That's actually a good question, Pika, but based on what they're talking about, we straight up annexed them. They are now a part of the Empire, not a... They are a territory of the Empire is actually the terminology they use, rather than, you know, a vassal state or a protectorate or whatever. I'm actually torn on this one. As much as I'd love to get a Crusader, honestly, the mercenary stats are just way better. So it's between these two. So better health, better magic, less SP, better defense. Looks like the mercenary really is the best stats, so... See you around, Kevin. Oh yeah, by the way, this inheritance magic isn't just a gameplay point to help keep going through the generations. There's actually a plot point about inheritance magic later on. Oh no, we took the whole thing, Pika-Clo. I wish I had a way to show you the map, but trust me, it's ours now. I don't blame you, Pika. Our cape is just psychotic. Look at that thing. How much money do we have? Surely in 80 years we've collected plenty of taxes, right? Nope. We still are down 600,000 crowns to be able to buy the frickin' university. God damn it. We killed a bunch of things. Why didn't we... Our tax rate's gotta be garbage right now. That's probably the problem. So how's our orchard doing? Oh, the tree is still growing. In 80 years. That's how much the tree has grown. I'm sorry, what? The orchard is too cramped for the tree to grow. I have a very important question for you, Wilson. What armies? Buy anything? Nope, it's still not letting me. Whatever. Alright, so let's get a save in. Because I need to go do something. I need to test a theory here, basically. Because HOI 4 is not a well-designed game, Gallade. That's the reason. I actually gave up on HOI 4. I gave it several significant attempts to try and enjoy that game, and I walked away from it. I mean, Lord knows that EU4 does have its issues, and holy crap, is seesaw effect a serious problem in that game. Especially since the AI literally cheats around that problem. What? Damn it. So I was really hoping I could recruit more than one person of a given class and just fill up my party with martial artists. Damn. Well, martial artists in a tank. Oh, well. Oh, apparently we could have saved George, too, if we'd gone the correct road on that last quest. George was the first ghost, Toma was the second ghost. You know, the two people we let die. So we could have a greater claim on their kingdom, obviously. So let's get our tank. I don't know who else I want in my party now. I don't remember off the top of my head. That's Dakota, admittedly. So that's the archer. I mean, archer's useful, so we'll go and take an archer, I guess. So I need one more. Sure, whatever. A two-hander. So there's me. Is that my tank? Yeah, that's my tank. She's the archer, so I want her in back. And I think that's good. I also want to talk to these guys. Oh yeah, so this is actually an interesting thing. As you learn abilities through the sparking, you can actually go and just go to the dojo? I can't remember the name of this guy. The person who's like, hey, here's how you do this. And they will teach you these abilities, as you can see here. That includes the ones that you can dodge, by the way. See? Well, supposedly magic is broken in endgame. Now, I know that has to do with merging specific spells and researching specific spells, but I don't even know how to actually do that, so I've kind of given up on that. Wait, really? Nothing? So you notice he has literally the best gear that I have available for him. This is what I was talking about earlier. I recruited him, and he's got the best gear available. The end, basically. Why would I want to spark off a Final Strike? I mean, I guess I could do that. Sure. Is this me? Is this the Empress? I think this is the Empress. So, sure. Let's get some really crap swords here. Yeah, let's get a good sword, first of all. Then we'll get some crap swords. There we go. Long sword. Another long sword. Then... I mean, I already know Final Strike, if that's what you're wondering. Jobbin. Yeah, why is he named Gorilla? He's even a tank. He's a tank named Gorilla. Okay, so... get rid of that. They know nothing, of course, but I can fix that. So, martial skill. for... yes, him. Actually, I wonder... Okay, I may be able to do my all martial artist party, kind of. Way too... We're nowhere, Wilson. We're on our 4th generation. We have only fought one of the 7 heroes. We have to fight a minimum of 5 to trigger the final generation. That's where we're at right now. We got this, guys. We can do this. I have no idea where to go or what to do, but we can do this. Oh, right. Let's do this really quick here. Okay, we're good. So what am I supposed to do? I already did that quest. Okay, what else? You know, hey, I'm sorry, hang on. Let's just change the damn music there. Did we do that already? Where? It doesn't help that these names were changed in the SNES version to, you know, this version. So I'm like, go to Ludon. Where the hell is... Oh, here. Apparently it is named Ludon. Okay, so... Where am I going here? I think this is where I'm supposed to go? God damn, I'm not even sure. And I am wrong. Hey, Lawfoot, what's up? I will say, by the way, just kind of off topic really quick. I would really love this base premise and concept basically redone in a completely new game. Which I know doesn't sound like a good thing, but god, that would be kind of awesome. Like, the idea of a generational RPG already sounds interesting to me, honestly. This is me raising my eyebrow at you, Jovan. I've done all these before. Yeah, there's the east and there's the south, so I've already done those. So, okay, apparently I've already done this entire quest. Sure, let's go deal with the Hive Queen, why not? How do I get over there? Oh, god damn it. Can I just go on the overworld map, please? this thing again. No. I don't suppose you mean, Final Strike. Terranigma. God, that took me a minute to remember that one. Let's see if my all martial artist strategy works here. Well, one person's dead. 2 damage. And I'm dead. Alright, show of hands. Please be honest. How many of you want me to really keep trying at this game? And how many of you want me to just give up and move on to something else? As I'm dying to random trash that happens to be in the way of what I think is the right way to go. I like this. The previous Empress solved a civil war. This Empress died in minutes trying to cross a frickin' lake of ice. And then she just stands there, posing. Any other thoughts? Before we decide, I do want to see one thing really quick here. Items, learned abilities, money, and skill levels. Okay. I'm just checking something really quick here. No, there's no way to skip this, before you ask. I'm actually mashing the button here. out of habit, not really on purpose. I'm doing it in time to the music. Okay. So yeah, there is New Game Plus. You notice our skill levels are weird, actually. Like, some of them are exactly where they should be, and then some of them are not. So I'm guessing that's just a variable thing. I guess Gerard and Leon are, you know, static characters. That's probably why. Yeah, that's why. But you notice, I'm already starting with Mega Thrust and Haphazard Arrow and all that stuff that I had in the previous thing. Doesn't look like I start with any of the inventory that I did, which is a little unfortunate. I have... No, it looks like I don't have the equipment either. So it looks like the New Game Plus starts over with, like, skills? Or not skills, sorry. Attributes, I guess? I don't know what to call those. And that's it? That's not a particularly impressive New Game Plus. But then again, we're still in the tutorial, and I don't feel like going through the tutorial again to see what it is. So, at least you can New Game Plus off of an incomplete save. That's usually a good thing. Oh, God, stretch. I wish Larchek was here. I'd just ask him. Yeah, you can play New Game Plus without being, which I think is a good thing. Like, Chrono Trigger, you could do that after you beat the game once. You can New Game Plus halfway through if you feel like it, but... Diablo 3, of course, has the best New Game Plus ever. Zlartic, you're the one who donated for this game. I'm going to let you decide. What should we do? One way or another, I need to heat up food soon. I'm getting hungry. I didn't actually have breakfast. What would you carry over, Andrew? Like, obviously you can't carry over territory, for example, but maybe research? Or units that are unlocked? Like, imagine being able to do the earlier StarCraft 2 missions with battle cruisers, for example. Honestly, and I've said this before, and I will say this again, I think that basically every game could benefit from New Game Plus. The number of games that couldn't benefit from New Game Plus are minuscule. Oh god, I don't remember what to do next. Right. I need to talk to people in town, I think. I don't remember who. Hang on, let me scroll. I've got a walkthrough right here. Let's figure out how we can zoom through this tutorial as quickly as possible. Here we go. Wow, apparently I literally just need to leave and come back to advance the plot on this one. Oh, wait, that would be sweet, Takoida. I would replay Wings of Liberty right now, if that was a thing. If you could save unlocks across campaigns, hell yes. Granted, I also really like StarCraft 2, so bias. How would we do EU4 New Game Plus? Okay, Slartek. Like I said, this is really your decision, because you're the one who made this happen. I'm still thankful, by the way. I want to make that very clear. I'm sorry, guys. I'm ultimately just really disappointed with this game. I was really hoping to just absolutely adore this game and replay a SaGa game that I remember fondly. This one, along with FFL 3 and, well, that's kind of it, really, are the two SaGa games that I really remember fondly. God damn it. No, I think EU4, there would be a possibility for doing a New Game Plus, but it would practically be a cheat mode. It would effectively boil down to, like, having, carrying forward, ideas and techs would be the main thing. To be able to start colonizing in the 1400s, for example, way before anyone else can. Or already having your idea groups filled out, you know, that kind of a thing. I will admit New Game Plus doesn't quite fit EU4 as much as it does other things. Yay, we won. Whoops, wrong button. Okay, now the really difficult part. I need to go die as quickly as possible. Whatever the beginning of EU4 is, I forget the exact year, to be completely honest with you. Okay, so we did this. Oh my god, everyone was killed. No. That might work, Andrew. And yeah, full-on alternate history might kind of work. Oh yeah, by the way, just to point this out, there are attacks in this game other than his Soul Steal that deliberately do LP damage rather than HP damage. That's why Soul Steal kills you, because it damages your LP. And, yay. Come on. Come on! Okay. Don't worry, I am playing for a reason here. I'm doing what is effectively going to be my final test for reviewing this game. I do have an opinion question for you guys. Do you think this game deserves a negative for the fact that I'm basically want to stop playing it? Okay, so it's... No, no. Ah, damn it. Yeah, see, the reason I'm debating this is I've already kind of listed all of the major negatives I have for this game. I haven't even really thought of any new negatives. Actually, that's not true. I have thought of one new negative, which I do have to give this game, unfortunately. But the additional negative is the lack of information in the game. Hell, there's even lack of information out of the game, for God's sakes. Lack of proper transparency on hidden mechanics, functions, leveling, and other features. Which is, I really hate to give this game another negative. I do think that is a bad design choice. Bzz. But having given those 4 negatives to the gameplay, I honestly don't think I really should give another negative for it personally. Because those are the negatives, right? That is why I'm not playing the game. It's not like it isn't fun. That's why it's not fun. I mean, that's the whole point, right? I don't know. I'm really debating this. I know, right, Gallade? If I could remap in Breath of the Wild, that would be awesome. It's at -2. God damn. It's funny you say that, Javin, since I'm the biggest person arguing that I shouldn't give it an additional negative. I think you're biased, sir. Jesus Christ. See, while I don't disagree with that in concept, Dakota, it's worth noting that this game, in English, just came out. This game has never come out before in English. This is a new release. Oh my god, Luffet, you have no idea how many times I get that question. Hang on, everyone take a drink. Someone asked about Legion. There we go. I'm looking at the story things, and I'm debating if I could do anything else with the story. That's true, I haven't made it to the point of no return yet. That is a valid statement to be made. You can do it, Caladrius. You can make it. LP damage. No, I'm super dead. So when is the exact point of no return in this one, Tenor? I honestly don't remember. Like, I'm pretty sure it's after the 5th, you know, the Final Emperor trigger, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Yes, that is actually an unwinnable fight. You basically have to do enough HP damage to him to trigger his ripping your soul out. And then once he does that, we advance our first generation, and this is how you learn generation mechanics. This is basically the generational tutorial. I'm pretty sure the actual point of no... In fact, I'm almost positive the point of no return is when you become the final emperor in this one. So, I'm about to spoil the hell out of this game, such as it is, for anybody who cares. This is your big warning. Spoilers, 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 spoilers everywhere. There will be spoilers. Endless spoilers. Endless. Everywhere. Yes. Good. Good. Oh, that's a good point, Joven. Am I right? Is it when you trigger the final emperor, that's the point of no return? Okay. Come on. Okay, so it did actually save my weapons. It just put them in the bank. So that's good. If you don't know off the top of your head, I'm just going to say it's the Final Emperor point. Because that's the obvious point. So yeah, it did save all of my equipment. So that's a good New Game Plus feature. And yeah, all my items. And it did save my attributes, but not my skills. If I can go to the dojo and train skills, then it actually saves my skill unlocking, which would be nice. We'll find out in a second. Yeah, he's not even there. Okay, whatever. God, it might be Dakota. Whoops. I'm in the wrong floor. It is kind of sounding like that, though. It's worth noting, though, that New Game Plus is something they added, and it kept the crowns in the treasury. We're still at 1.5 million. But New Game Plus is something they added for this version. So it was obviously never intended by the developers as a strategy. However, we do not have any of the buildings unlocked. So overall, we've got crowns in the treasury, equipment, attributes. Doesn't look like we've unlocked skills unless the dojo just isn't there yet. But I'd say that's pretty decent. I'd say that's a pretty good spread. So I think I am going to go ahead and give the Gameplay Plus for New Game Plus, for decent New Game Plus. Because New Game Plus, as long as it's done well, is always a plus. I've said that so many times. I was going to test something else. Oh yeah, story, right. So let's go ahead and spoil the crap out of the story here really quick. So, a bajillion years ago, roughly, rough figures, there were these two heroes that got together and were like, you know what? This world is crap. Like, the world was absolutely flooded with monsters. Now, in this particular setting, monsters is more of the traditional application of the word. These are horribly evil beasts who are innately evil, right? Think more traditional, like D&D demons, for example. Chaotic evil, okay? So, the world was flooded with these monsters, and so these two heroes came up with a plan to unite, recruit a bunch of additional heroes, and use this brand new type of magic that they discovered called inheritance magic in order to go and defeat all the monsters. Yes, the inheritance magic we keep using in order to pass down our powers to successive generations. It's the same magic. So, the way they used it, however, is rather than, you know, using it to pass on to their successor after they die, so they gain all their knowledge and abilities, they were casting it basically to rip knowledge and abilities out of things. Kind of more assimilating rather than passing on. And they were using it specifically on monsters. So using this new assimilation magic, the 2 heroes slowly grow into the 7 heroes. Each of them has their own reason for being in the party. And basically, the reason they don't look human is because they literally aren't, because their bodies were altered by this assimilation magic. Make sense? They still weren't evil, it's worth noting. What ended up happening is the 7 heroes were so successful that they basically wiped the monsters off the face of the planet and had in fact pushed them back to the literal gates of hell. It's actually a dimensional portal into hell, which is where the monsters come from. Then they pushed them through that gate and started actually fighting the monsters in hell. This is when things get bad. Now, there's a little bit of interpretation to this because of bad translation, and bad, SNES storytelling, but one of 2 things happened. Either they were betrayed by the people they were saving back home, or the people back home were terrified. One way or another, the actual people back here on Earth closed this dimension into hell, leaving them sealed in hell. The 7 heroes didn't like that. I know, weird, right? So, many years later, people around the dimensional gate, I forget the name of the city, forgive me, start fiddling with it, like, oh, I wonder what this dimensional gate thing is, And they are like, let's go ahead and try and mess with it. And they end up opening the gate again, opening the gate to hell, which is why so many monsters are roaming the world now, because that's where they came from, right? Makes sense? And the 7 heroes come out, and the 7 heroes, I remind you, were really, really strong. So they kind of took over hell. They basically were running hell while, the time was passing. So those monsters that come steaming through are coming through at the 7 heroes' behest, because the 7 heroes are really, really pissed off at the rest of the world, because, duh. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Anyways. Now, one last little niggle. We don't actually fight the 7 heroes until the very end of the game. Yeah, I know we killed Izenzi over here in Somon. I know we go here and we fight him, but that's actually not him. So they can't actually come through into this world. They have to... just checking something really quick. That's what I thought. They can't actually come through. They're stuck in hell. So they use their inheritance magic to basically craft meat puppets, I don't know what else to call it, and send those out. Those are obviously much weaker than the actual 7 heroes. Yes, really. So they send those guys out to basically continue their own particular machinations in the world. And each one of the 7 heroes aren't really united. Like, they don't actually care about each other or the 7 heroes concept. They each have their own goals, and they each have their own chunk of the forces of hell and of the world that they have conquered. And so, for example, Bakuman, the Machinist guy I mentioned earlier, Bak is like, hey, I really want to manipulate everything into going to hell. He basically wants to destroy the entire world for some reason. I can't imagine why. So he's been manipulating everything to make everything worse. I can't remember the name of the woman, but she is just interested in getting as many men as she can. Yes, really. Her brother is probably the only decent, good person amongst them. He's trying to set up a new kingdom, which he will then try to make sure that the crap that happened to him and his people never happens again. So that's 3. The guy we're fighting here, Skinzy, so he's the pathetic one. You know what I'm talking about, right? There's always like he's the Jar Jar of the 7 heroes. I'm not even kidding. Everyone in the rest of the 6 can't stand him. And he's basically out here as like a early warning defense system. He's the scout. If anybody comes after him and takes him out, they know that they have something to deal with. In fact, us taking out Skinzy in the mission that I'm technically on right now is what alerted the rest of the 6 to the Avalon Empire, which we play as actually being a threat. So that's her, him. Who am I missing? There's a guy named Dentarg. He's pretty boring. He likes to grow stronger. That's his motivation. That's always been his motivation. I must become the most powerful person in ever. And when I say powerful, I mean like martial arts kind of power, right? So he, that's why he joined the party originally, back in the day. And once he sends forth his avatar into the world, that's all he does. You just find him randomly in dungeons fighting, because that's what he likes to do. He's literally trying to level up. Who am I missing? There's the squid person. I don't remember much about the squid person. And who am I missing? Oh, I'm missing the leader. The leader is the one who actually, he's the butterfly guy who actually looks a lot like a woman. No, seriously. I didn't know it was a he until way later. He's trying to build, he's kind of working with Leon, the guy who's trying to build the new kingdom. He's trying to basically unify all of the powers of both Hell and Earth underneath him. He's trying to rule both planes. That's his overall goal. And he also has one final goal, which is to get revenge against the Ancients, who were the ones who sealed them in frickin' Hell. The Ancients, by the way, aren't actually on the planet anymore. They jumped off to another dimension. So the goal here is, you know, from his perspective and from the Seven Heroes as a whole, gate is open, send forth the forces of Hell, conquer the world, establish control over both dimensions, then now that we have stability, use the time and effort to redevelop the dimensional technology to figure out where the Ancients went to and go kill the crap out of them. That's pretty much the overall plot here. When we get to the final Emperor, which happens after you defeat 5 of the meat puppets, like I mentioned earlier, you die, the generation passes, the final Emperor shows up, you wipe out the last 2 of the heroes, and then you go to Hell, because of course you do, and you fight the actual 7 heroes and kill the actual 7 heroes, all in one fight in a really ridiculously, insanely hard fight. The way it works is you're fighting one of them, I forget the name, so forgive me, you fight one of them, right? And then after you've done about 6,000 damage, a second one merges with the first one. And then another one, until all 7 are literally part of this really gross amalgamate being, which is what you're fighting. Then you win, you kill them, and the 7 heroes are gone, and Hell is chopped off, chonk, and then the world, peace reigns, etc., yada yada. That's the plot of Romancing Saga 2. Look, I'll go to Hell later, okay? God, I'm busy. In fact, I could probably show you a picture of what I'm talking about with the whole amalgamate creature thing here, if I can find it. Yep, here it is. Boop. View image. Or just do this, I suppose. No. Now, I know it's kind of small because it's a SNES thing, but this is what they look like. Oh, I believe it, Jovan. Thankfully, I was multi-saving when I first played this on the SNES, because, yeah. So, yeah, that's the actual final boss right there. The 7 heroes all merged into this one guck thing. I have heard a theory, and I don't like this theory because it kind of destroys the whole point of the story. But I've heard a theory that that red crap, you see the stuff that's connecting them? Well, when you first start the fight, it's basically just the red crap and then the one guy, right? And then the other people get, tacked on to the red crap. The idea is that the red crap is actually, for lack of a better way to put it, the essence of Hell, and that that's the actual villain that's actually causing all this, and it corrupted the 7 heroes and blah, 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 blah. Again, I don't like that theory because it tosses the whole point of the story out the window. The entire idea, the entire theme of this is that these great heroes, this PC party, straight out of D&D, because, I mean, seriously, we've got the heavy fighter guy, we've got the manipulative guy who has the connections, politically speaking, we've got the one who is the brave, stalwart knight, we've got the caster lady, I could go down the list, but it's a PC party. They charge into Hell, literally save the world. They succeed. They win their particular, like, if we had a game for their playstyle, they win. They wipe out all the monsters on the entire planet, push them back to, and then into hell, and their reward is to get locked into hell for all that crap. I prefer the idea that they turn around and are like, you goddamn dicks! And that's why they turn around and become the 7 heroes villains, the 7 villains, if you will, that we actually end up fighting in this game. Because holy crap! You know? So I do like this story, and I think, since I know this story, and by all accounts it's not really changed, I'm definitely giving a plus to the presentation of the 7 heroes themselves. I do like that a lot. And I'm debating if I could justify it, because I want to give another story plus, honestly. I like a lot of the overall plot of this game. I really do. But I already gave a plus for the generational thing. That could be max time. That could be. I've never... You just made me think of a theory just now that I've never heard of, but it's possible that... So the guy who starts off is Butterfly Guy, the guy who's the main villain, you know, that I mentioned earlier. And it's possible that when you're fighting, because you start off fighting him, he uses an inheritance magic to basically graft the others onto him, and so you literally end up fighting the 7 heroes like that. That's a possibility. I don't know. Is that shown on screen? It's a SNES RPG? I mean, there is a decent amount of this that's on screen. However, the majority of the actual story is presented, and I can't remember the name of the town, but there's basically a town of the ancients. It's the town that used to have the ancients before they hopped off to whatever dimension they went to. And that's pretty much where you learn almost everything I just told you. Like, you get to that point, and then it's just info dump from, like, every NPC in that town. It's not the best storytelling. It's not actively bad, I would say, though. Well, one way or another, it definitely gets the 1+. That's unavoidable. So, excellent story surrounding the 7 heroes. I'm just going to summarize at that to avoid spoilers. If I was to give out another story plus, I think it would be for the structure of the mini-stories. Because like I said, there's all sorts of little miniature stories, like the Civil War thing we just did, which was kind of cool. You know, the whole... Oh my gosh, you know, we've been taken over by Seyfried and we're being pushed by Bach. Everything I explained earlier about the Civil War. I do like a lot of the side stories. And almost every side story is a subset of one of the heroes' individual stories. Because each of the 7 heroes has their own story, with the exception of Dentarg, who, again, he just wants to get stronger. So 6 of the heroes have their own little individual story arc, like this. And the only problem is almost all of those revolve around Bach, the manipulator guy. A huge amount of the individual stories revolve around him. So he gets by far the most characterization and the most story arcs relevant to him. I think I'm going to give a plus and a negative. I think this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to give a plus for the individual story arcs and relevance to the 6 heroes. That's the plus. The negative is most of the depth of the story not being properly shown on screen. And I know the era, I get it, Javan, but again, I kind of committed when I started this to judge this as a game that just came out 2 weeks ago, because it is a game that just came out 2 weeks ago. Hey, Jaludo, and hey, Reaver. So we gave the other additional story positive and the additional story negative. I'm trying to think of other things that, you know, thinking ahead by memory, other things that would deserve positives or negatives here before I chop this one off. Yeah, let's change the music. Actually, you know what? Don't I have this soundtrack? Let's just say it's... I already gave it the plus for good music, because it is good music, goddammit. Advancing SaGa 2 music. Let's see, what do we got here? Where's the 7 Heroes battle? That's a good one.
Amazing speed.
Did you know that ads are a thing that you can do? This is a Comcast ad. Screw you, Comcast. Oh, I misclicked. This is the last dungeon. This is hell. This is the music that plays when you're in hell. I really don't want to give a negative for the difficulty curve, but it is my honest opinion that the difficulty curve in this game is not good. It's not well designed. It's not a problem of the game being too, difficult. It's the problem of the difficulty being improperly designed. That is my opinion. So I'm not sure if that qualifies as a negative. I'm running through all this stuff in my head that you go throughout this story. You know what? I think one thing does deserve a story plus. This is the one I thought about yesterday and I forgot about. You remember that? You remember how I forgot about something? So what do you guys think? Do you think this belongs in story or gameplay? Your choices matter. I've already demonstrated that several times. The idea of choosing your way through individual story arcs. Locking yourself out of content because you do one thing, or deciding to assist one person instead of the other person, or trying to support the Civil War by going in this direction, something like that. There's a lot of choices mattering in this game. It's one of the things that I liked best about it when I played it back on the SNES. It is worth noting I had a game FAQ back when I was playing it on the SNES, so I knew what my options were. So I think I agree. Let's give it to both. Let's give it... It should be standard, but, it really isn't Shaludo. So I think we're going to... So, choices matter. We're just going to do it that way. Choices matter for both. And I think in gameplay negatives, we're going to go ahead and add... Oh, never mind. I guess I already gave it that negative. So, never mind. What was the negative I was debating? Just now. So, plus to story for choices mattering, plus to gameplay for choices mattering. I was literally just talking about this. What was the negative I was debating? I really need to get some food. Here, let's actually have the last boss song. This is a really good song. But first, let's have a Comcast ad. We're a Comcast, and we're evil incarnate. We hope you die in a fire and we get all your money. There we go. There's a good song. This is the fight song for the 7 Heroes at the very end. The amalgamate thing. I mean, I already mentioned the lack of transparency, and I already mentioned the lack of the depth of story being unpresent. Yeah, there's several choices that will continue to affect things for future quest arcs, too, in Romancing Saga 2. I would say the first choices matter moment for me in the Saga series is FFL3, because there's so many aspects of the time travel that continue to be relevant well after you make the choice to alter history. I mean, if it pays well, Reaver, right? Difficulty curve. That's what I was debating, the negative. Alright, what do you guys think about the difficulty curve negative? Before I give my opinion. Because I have my opinion, I've decided my own thoughts on the matter, but I want to hear your thoughts. And yes, I know if you just do this exact specific thing, the game is actually pretty easy. I understand that. Elitism, elitism. To be clear, it's not about the difficulty of the game so much as the design of the difficulty curving of the game. I never gave a negative for the level scaling because I was never able to 100% define how level scaling works. Other than the fact that certain bosses get worse, notably the 7 heroes, get worse depending on how many fights you've had. No, I never got wiped by trash mobs in this game. See, I think this does deserve at least an aggregate negative because of the level scaling, because of the difficulty scaling, because of the fact that the difficulty curve is all over the place, and completely... What the... Did you seriously just stop the song in the middle? Why would you do that? Because of the nature of how the game almost expects you to break it in order to be able to properly play. And I don't know if you noticed, but basically the skills is how your damage goes up. Your equipment matters a little bit, and your attributes matter a little bit, but it's really all about the skills. And exactly what you gain and what you learn and how you learn. Remember, skill learning is random, and spell learning is about the research thing. So, that's already a negative to quote. I've already put that negative on there. So, those 2 points, and in addition to that, I feel like they could have designed the world better. To explain what I mean by this, some of the weird difficulty curve comes from the fact that this is not a linear game. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, so long as there's like a little signpost, not literally, but there's some kind of design signpost that says this is a higher level area, right? This is something that you're probably not ready for given your current relative power level. Even just a frickin' color code for zones would have been a nice little affix or suffix or something to help you understand which areas are harder than which other areas. 2 of the times I died to trash were because I was going somewhere I probably shouldn't have, right? And that's on me, because I was going to what is effectively a higher level zone. But nothing in the game indicated that other than me dying. So some kind of more... again, goes back to that transparency thing. Some kind of indicator of the design, or designing, like I said, designing the world differently. Maybe even, as much as I can't believe I'm saying this, maybe even going full in on the whole scaling thing. Specifically so that it doesn't necessarily matter which order you're doing things in. I still think just having a signpost or a skull mechanic or some kind of design change would be a better way to put this. So between those 3 separate points, I think that adds up to an aggregate negative. So aggregate negative for difficulty. Wonky difficulty curve. Lack of design features to accommodate the, I guess we'll call it the non-linear nature, and the randomness of player progression. Now, I do know that there's ways around these. I do understand that. But I still think from a design perspective of a video game that has been designed and coded and built in this specific manner, that there are ways to do this better. My opinion. I mean, if nothing else... oh, good. Give that other negative there. If nothing else, the idea of making it so that, you go to a specific area and it's like, maybe a text box pops up and says, oh, maybe we need stronger abilities for this area. That wouldn't be particularly hard to code, right? And it would be a relatively easy script. It's just check for, certain types of abilities or certain, perhaps, attribute levels like we got on the screen right now, and say, this is below 15. They're probably not ready for this area. So maybe we should come back here later. Something. And of course, don't force the player. Don't throw a wall in their way. Just give them some kind of indication other than dying that this is a place that's mean. And again, like Psychotic just said in chat, the idea of the skull thing. Now, I'm sorry, Jovan, I know you're going to disagree with me on this, because you and I actually disagree a lot about game design philosophy, but I think the game needs to be a little bit more overt about that thing, in addition to the fact that difficulty is all over the place, in addition to the fact that the level design is a little bit too random, in addition to the fact that there's not a proper transparency when it comes to the many complex mechanics of this game. There's several very good complex mechanics of this game that I like, that I only know exist because I read a FAQ. You know? I don't consider that good design, personally. Trying to think now. Is there anything else I can say about this game? I think that's basically everything. I'm just running through it in my head real quick. Hey, Hector Anthem. That's right, 2017 is almost over. Holy crap. What time is it? Trying to remind myself if there's anything else I really want to mention. I already kind of talked about the sparking. I already talked about the generation mechanic, which is cool. Hey, Andrew. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not here. Hi, Hector. Sorry. I already said hi to Hector. Damn it, man. I don't think I have anything else to add. Did I give a positive for that? Hang on, let me check something real quick. All right, here's my last debate. This is the last point I can think of, and then we'll really chop this off. Does anyone other than Jovan think this game deserves a positive for basically the way they handled generational mechanics? The roguelite thing, right? You know, the idea that basically you can die a lot in this game and it doesn't super negatively impact you, except in certain circumstances. By the way, fun fact, there are certain quests, there's nothing to indicate this in the game. There's certain quests that if you die during the quest, you don't just get to go back and start the quest over like you normally can. The quest has now entered a failed state, which is a new status, which affects further quests along the line and affects the story, because, again, your choices matter. I wish it was a little more obvious about which quests are you die, you fail. The Civil War one is a good example of that. But anyways, so the generational mechanics, just to talk through this here. So you die, it compares your stats to one of the pre-existing people who were of the classes that you've unlocked, and it randomly pulls 4 of those pre-existing, pre-generated characters from that lock, and it compares your overall stats with theirs. If you have higher attributes, like this thing, or more skills than them, or more spells than them, that gets copied over, and they get, and basically, like, for example, if I have higher sword than them, but they have higher strength, the sword gets copied over, and they maintain their strength, if that makes any sense. So basically, it's always an upgrade if you do a generational skip, or at the very least, a side grade, and you're keeping your same relative power. You do switch classes, of course, which significantly changes your Emperor's playstyle. You do have to go re-recruit people in the castle, and you do have to re-equip people for the most part. But it's kind of a pseudo Dark Soulsy, pseudo roguelite way to not penalize you too badly for the fact that you just died. In fact, I would say there's only 2 real penalties to dying in this game, and that's A, the fact that you can permanently fail certain quests, and B, the fact that you have to bother to go and re-recruit and re-equip, and that is kind of a hassle, and it takes a while. And I remember, now that I'm talking this out, I remember back when I was playing this on the SNES, a couple of times where I wasn't save stating. I was trying to be purist about it, where it's like, all right, hang on, okay, re-recruit, okay, get the equipment, get the new abilities trained, okay, god damn it, I just did all this, But, and you do have like 256 lives, assuming you unlock everything in order to work with, so you got a lot of deaths to mulch through. Okay, Javan, I was kind of kidding. I would like to hear your thoughts on this point. I I don't want to give this game any more negatives, so all I'm just going to say is the fact that you can't just make someone leave your party, that you have to kill them to make them leave your party and recruit someone else, is a negative. Javin, don't. I was kidding, dude. I would honestly like to hear your thoughts on the generational mechanic. I love the idea. I really do. It's a great idea, and I would love a modern game to take this idea and run with it. I absolutely adore the concept. I would even like more of a, for lack of a better way to put it, like a Sim City type thing being tacked onto this game as you develop your city and your kingdom, as your hero goes out, as your emperor goes out and conquers or recruits or whatever more territory, right? And then, so now we have, you know, all those taxes. I mean, they're already like one step there. There's already all that money being spent on like the magic upgrade place, and the place that increases your tax income, and the place that allows you to research new spells, and the place that allows you to increase the revenue of territories, and just blah, blah. There's all sorts of little stuff that's like one step, like one little step into the SimCity thing. I would love if they took like several more steps into that on the side. You know what I mean? Just my opinion. I think that would be really cool. And now I'm just going to wait until Javin talks. Yeah, imagine like Crusader Kings 2 doing something like that. That's just cool. I like that idea. I even, as weird as this may sound, I even like the idea of playing an emperor who goes out and adventures like a standard adventurer, you know? Like something about that just appeals to me. The idea of the leader of a country literally having a magical imbuement of their previous generations. Like there's some great storytelling I think we could do with that just that concept right there. The idea that the leader of a given nation is decided always by the previous person, literally with magic, not because of political marriages, not because of blood, not because of anything else, just I have cast a spell to make that person my successor, which literally grants them all of my ability and knowledges. That's cool. I love that idea. And so then and it would also then make sense why the leader of this nation would actually be out running around and trying to be the adventurer because they have all the power of previous generations. In fact, it just occurred to me, this is the kind of thing that FF15 failed at getting across in its story. Like FF15's, one of the story background elements of FF15 is the fact that each generation of kings passes on their power to the next generation, so each generation gets stronger, right? And then eventually it'll be strong enough to save the world. I like that idea. And yeah, the concept of dying to learn enemy strategies and literally passing on the avoidance knowledge and stuff into the future. That's great. I love that concept. That would be cool too, adding in the partner concept. We were actually talking about that, you know, who am I marrying in order to have with the child, in order to have this successor? And having a way to actually have both people be relevant. Kind of a Pokemon thing at that point, having both parents being relevant for the successor, for the child. So I guess what this argument, this discussion, boils down to is, does a great idea that isn't that well presented... Yeah, that's true, Dragon Quest V had that too. Does a great idea that's not that well presented, yes, I know the limitations of the time, I get that, deserve a positive? And I'm really torn on that. Because I can name a lot of games that have really great ideas that don't really fulfill on them. And I think I'm not going to give a... My gut reaction is to not give a positive for that concept. I'm torn, though, because, again, good concepts should be rewarded, right? Like we do want, like we were talking about earlier, you know, I do want new IPs. I do want people to stretch and try new things. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Quite Hmm. That's true, Javan. This is definitely something I'm debating. Hmm. I'm really torn on this. Because, like I said, more games really should try new ideas and mechanics. They may not succeed. They may fail miserably, but for God's sakes, I do absolutely employ and encourage the idea of trying new ideas and trying new concepts and trying new game mechanics or abilities or philosophy, like this whole generational mechanic thing. I'm not going to decide based on this, but I'm curious what the coin says. The coin says no, it shouldn't get a positive. Now, ironically, that's okay. So, ironically, I'm already leaning towards that. I swear I'm not being influenced by the coin here. I swear, okay? It just don't control me. Um, the reason I'm leaning towards not giving it a positive is because this feels like the kind of thing that, for the review of a game, does not qualify as a positive. It strikes me more as the kind of thing that should be lauded and encouraged, even if it doesn't increase the quality of the product, if that makes any sense. In other words, how many of you have ever been a teacher or a parent, for example? Both of these are the same kind of things. How many times have your children or your students tried something and failed? It's still a failed product. Whatever they accomplished is not a success. But they tried. They did have a good idea, so you want to encourage them to do better, right? You want to be like, look, that was an awesome idea. Why don't you go back to the drawing board, give another shot at it, maybe rework this, or maybe look at it from a different angle, you know. It's kind of the mentality I have here. So I think I will end up. That's true. And that's another point. Actually, you know what, Javan, you have just convinced me that this is not a positive. Hear me out. Because a positive is something, the way I define my positive is something the game does decisively right. Something that's just great. Not just something that is not bad. Something that is better than average or, great or whatever. And that is why I think that this doesn't deserve a positive, because it is not a bad thing. The generational mechanic is absolutely not a negative. I don't think anybody's arguing that the generational mechanic is a negative, but I don't think it is sufficiently well executed to qualify as being a positive. So I think, Javan, you have convinced me on this. Seriously, I'm not jossing to not that. So that would mean our final score is thus. What do we got? So it looks like a net +2 to story. And a net, oh wow, a net -1. This is our first time we've ever had a net negative since we started this format. A net -1 to gameplay. Yeah, that about fits my overall feeling of the game. Thank you again, Zlartic, for helping me. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for this. I'm sorry that I'm terrible. I'm going to take a brief break. I'm actually going to bring the stream down and go and get some goddamn lunch. I'm really hungry. And then I'm going to come back and do more streaming because I have 1,000 things to stream right now and I really need to be streaming. So I hope you'll join me in like half an hour or so.